Hi Matt, and welcome back to my channel. Today I have some question for you because I think we are in a weird time. Some people start to think this is the real end of the world. Other people think this is the real end of lending peer-to-peer and lending peer-to-peer platform. This is true or not?
Absolutely not. So yes, we are in strange times, Filippo, for sure, and it's good to be back on your channel again. But absolutely not the end of peer-to-peer lending. So if anything, I'm very excited about this period for Bondora. It's a real opportunity for us to kind of get through this and show customers that we've still delivered on what we said we were going to do throughout this time period. So I can definitely understand if some investors are worried, and hopefully I can answer some specific questions around that today.
I think this is not the end of the world, but of course this year in lending peer-to-peer many platforms will go bankrupt and other, as always, become stronger. When do you think the government along the world will unfreeze the economy?
Well, it's really hard to say, and I think it's a more of a localized decision because the status of the economy, the status of the virus in different areas of the world, different continents even, is totally different, as you know, living in Italy, right?
Yeah.
So, I think just from personal experience and starting to look at seeing the data, panic seems to be subsiding. So people seem to be panicking a little bit less now than they were, say, 2-3 weeks ago, which is quite encouraging. Because, of course, the main driver, the main force in this economy change is people panicking, right?
Yeah.
Of course, in different industries, it's not the same where, they're totally shut down, like hospitality, for example. But I personally think that panic seems to be subsiding a little bit.
Okay, cool. And some country now start to think about helicopter money as a way to save the economy. And there are some chance that debtor use this money to pay their debt.
I mean, I guess I think this was something in Spain that they said that they were thinking of doing this, like universal basic income as well.
Yeah, also in Italy and in America, some Americans use the stimulus to buy some Bitcoin or pay their debt.
Right. Okay.
So maybe I think this in Europe some people can use this money to pay their debt. I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the common misconception with this is that everyone is broke, right?
Yeah.
Everyone has no money, which is totally not the case. Yes, some people have been impacted and lost their jobs and are finding it hard financially, but a lot of people aren't. A lot of people are continuing as normal. The adaptability of so many businesses to just change to work from home has been incredible. Some businesses which you've never seen. I was speaking to some of my colleagues in a bank where I used to work, and before they would have never let people work from home. But they've just adapted because it has to go on. The business has to go on. So I think potentially there could be some situations where like borrowers have this helicopter money, for example. Who knows? But not everyone needs it.
Yeah, of course. Not everyone. So another question. Some time ago, I saw that Bondora Go Grow as a partial withdrawal. Why? Why do you implement partial withdrawal for Bondora Go Grow?
Yeah, really important question. Yeah. Because we implemented partial payouts not just recently from the crisis. We implemented this from the beginning.
Okay.
So if you see a lot of our content around this, it's from a year or two ago, right? The reason that we put this in place in the beginning was for exactly a scenario like we have today. And it's purely to protect investor returns. So the underlying portfolio, the benefit of earning up to 6.75% is something that customers love, the stability of it. And it's not varying, right? So we give customers up to 6.75%, and we initiate a partial payout when withdrawals become higher than we've seen before, right? By a large amount, because there's usually a cash reserve there. So that's why you get the daily liquidity. But if withdrawals have increased much larger than over any other month before, that cash reserve is not as liquid, right? Because there's not as much in there. So what that means is instead of having to sell all the underlying assets in the portfolio to give the liquidity, we keep over 100,000 loans in the portfolio to continue to deliver that cash flow to investors every single day and to generate that return. So the return is not impacted by these withdrawals, right?
Okay.
Whereas if you allowed unlimited withdrawals in the underlying portfolio, then that could impact the net return that's generated for investors. And that's what we don't want, because some people have withdrawn, but a lot of people haven't made any withdrawals. Okay. Right? So yes, there's panic and people withdraw, but a lot of people haven't. A lot of people just stay on track and are still earning the return. So it would be bad and unfair to damage the return for the people who aren't making any changes in their portfolio. So that's why partial payouts is in place. It's to protect the net return of up to 6.75% for investors.
And this partial payout work just in this situation, or every time? Just in this situation, I think.
Well, it's in a situation where withdrawals are much higher than any previous time before, right? Okay. So if we experienced a crisis environment where withdrawals would increase by a huge amount than had been in previous months, then it could be initiated again. But from what we're seeing from our side is that withdrawals are every single week they are decreasing. Okay. Right. And also deposits, yes, and also deposits are picking up as well. So we're already seeing a change from a peak, which was a few weeks ago, which is quite encouraging. So this is what I was saying before. I think investors care that we still deliver on that return, because even if your payout is pending, anything which is not paid out to you yet still is earning a return. So it's not just pending in the air, it's still earning a return for you. So
the 6.75% is still possible in this year for the investor?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely.
Cool. And how long will it take to pay every withdrawal request?
So how it works at the moment, everyone is paid a percentage, which is equal to the amount of their withdrawal. So the percentage amount is the same, but it's based on your withdrawal amount. And it totally depends on the daily cash flow in the portfolio or the current investments that we have. So it's quite difficult for me to give you an exact time frame on that. Perhaps when we have more data, we can share an average of how long it takes. But there may be a scenario where it's not even relevant anymore. So yeah, it's hard to give you an exact figure on that because it depends on the underlying portfolio.
Okay, of course. Some people now are really scared. And of course, some people start to withdraw money on Bondora, but not just on Bondora. They start to withdraw money also here in Italy. They start to withdraw money on their banks. And is Bondora likely to fail? Because some people here in Italy are really scared to the bank failure. Okay, is Bondora likely to fail?
Absolutely not, because we have. If you look at our business model, we don't need to generate a huge amount of revenue, a huge amount of profit every single year to be sustainable, right? If you see some of the most popular fintechs in Europe, they are hemorrhaging money every single month, right? They're making a huge loss every single month, and they need to either have a huge revenue to substantiate that, or they need to raise money in the form of funding. Whereas we don't. Because one of our biggest costs going forward for Bondora is our marketing costs. So, if you've been on YouTube, you've probably seen a Bondora ad. If you looked at your TV in Germany or Estonia, you've seen a Bondora ad on TV. So we spend a lot of money on marketing, and also from referrals as well. So when less investors are joining the platform in a time like this, then less referral bonuses may be generated for individuals as well. So our costs have substantially decreased, which means that we haven't needed to fire or lay off any employees at all. Mm-hmm. We're actually still hiring. So I think that's quite encouraging for investors. Yeah. So that means our business model is sustainable. We don't need to generate, because of the underlying portfolio, like I said, which is kept intact and generating with over 100,000 loans in the portfolio, it makes the business quite sustainable. So in a way, it's infinite in a way. So I don't see any risk for Bondora at all related to this.
And Bondora has yet overcome some recession in the past.
Yes, so we've been in recessionary environments in Spain and Finland. Yeah. Of course, it's not in the same magnitude as what we're experiencing now in terms of a global crisis. We haven't operated in this environment before. but we have been around for over 10 years. So, we are not new to this market.
And Bondora was born on 2008 in the peak of financial crisis.
In the middle of that. So, and we have a lot of experience since then, over 12 years. So I think we're very well prepared for this environment.
One of my followers want to know what happens if withdrawal requests exceed Bondora's liquidity.
Well, this would be which initiates the partial payouts.
Okay. In this hard time, Bondora allows debtors to pay their debts in the deferred way?
Yes. So we've always had in place for our borrowers a service called Be Secure. And this is something that borrowers people with a loan can take when they are signing up and taking a loan, or when they already have one. And this means that they can change their monthly payment date, they can take a payment holiday, or they can extend or shorten their loan duration. And that's always been there in place. So especially for now, that gives borrowers a really kind of comfort and like something to rely on in this period. So yes, we have that in place. We've always had it in place. And especially now, I think it's more relevant for borrowers who need that help and need our support.
Good to know. It will be possible in future to check Go Grow portfolio composition?
Yes, so we published this last time, I think it was in December.
I saw.
And the next one will be coming within the next couple of weeks.
Okay. And another follower asked, why invest in Bondora if other platforms with buyback guarantee offer higher return, higher interest rate?
I mean, for me, one thing I would always question, or tell all investors always to question, is the word a guarantee, right? What does it mean? Right. But secondly, for Bondora, I would say the track record of stability over the past decade speaks for itself. We still have a super simple platform which anyone can use. You can come in, you can just add your money, and you can see the returns added to your account every day. There's no fluctuations within Go Grow. We're not offering. You're used to investing in Bitcoin. I can see the sign in the background.
My whiteboard.
50% fluctuations in a day is not what you're going to see in your Bondora account. So we're about stability. We want to offer investors stability in that they can rely on that. So I think that's a massive benefit for our customers.
Okay, so this is it. Thank you, Matt, for your answer. I'm really glad that you are back on my channel. Unfortunately, this is a difficult time. So thank you, and see you next time. Bye.
Yes, thank you very much, Filippo.